Donald Trump today doing his best to court the evangelical vote, but some are actually saying that he might have hurt himself here a little bit. Joining me now, Mica Mosbacher, Todd Starnes, and Jillian Melcher. Todd, you had some really interesting tweets as this whole thing was sort of going on at Liberty. What's your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charles, I actually got to speak at Liberty University, that same podium there. And so I know how intimidating that big crowd of kids can be. Look, I understand that why Donald Trump did what he did, and I think he was trying to reach out to this demographic of young evangelical voters. But I'm not quite sure he pulled it off there, you know, and a lot of people are giving him grief for stumbling over the Bible verse. You know, that happens. Right. But at least he gave it a shot, and at least didn't like try to speak in tongues or, you know, baptize anybody. Could have been worse. It
could have been. Listen, I know that you're a fan, but Russell Moore from the Southern Baptist Convention really lit into Donald Trump today after this, and I'm sure it ruffled a few other feathers. What do you make of the whole thing? Much ado about nothing?
I don't want to get into who's holier than thou. But
it's so funny because the candidates are.
Well, to some degree, but here's the important thing. We have two strong candidates. They're both outsiders, and Ted Cruz is appealing to his base. He has a strong grassroots support, $20 million in the bank, a lot of super PAC money as well, so he can defend himself against Donald Trump, who's a formidable opponent. You know, this is the Super Bowl of election politics, and no one wants a shutout game. So I think that it is absolutely great that we're seeing this competition.
Right.
And I will say that we have to turn out the evangelical vote. If we don't, we're toast, and that's the gospel truth.
Todd, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, look, I think this is an issue, and evangelicals are very perplexed over what to do with Donald Trump. And I read those comments that Dr. Moore, who is the president of the ERLC, look, that's the largest Protestant denomination in the country. That is a big deal that they're coming out so vocally against Donald Trump. But the big issue is this going to impact Ted Cruz in Iowa? And I don't believe so, because I think at the grassroots level, they really are going to, for those evangelical voters, right, they're going to be looking at the candidate's heart, not necessarily the rhetoric.
Jillian, in 2012, the GOP caucus, evangelicals were 57%, so we know the importance in Iowa. Doesn't matter beyond Iowa.
Yeah, it's an incredible demographic. It's something that's very vital in American politics, and it's been a force. I mean, to your point, I understand getting up in front of like a room full of young evangelicals might be a little bit intimidating. But come on, this is not Donald Trump's first flub about Christianity. You know, we've not only got the 2 Corinthians, we've got him talking about communion in a disrespectful way. You know, he's got a favorite Bible verse, but that's real personal.
Double your tithe night at the casinos.
Don't think he's going to get it.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Well, you know, here's the thing, though, Mica. We know it's important. There's a lot of different constituencies out there. But does Trump now, in your opinion, try to clean it up and just move on?
I think he should just move it on. And let me say something about this citizenship issue. Donald Trump is doing Ted Cruz a favor by bringing up the question of his citizenship and eligibility to run for president now. Let's not have an October surprise.
It's incredibly kind of him. It's so nice of him to do that.
Isn't it nice
I just don't think it's opportunism at all.
That's what you get in the Super Bowl.
It's real sweet.
Team
That's
helping
exactly.
the other.
But my odds are on Ted Cruz. He'll overcome it just like John McCain did.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks a lot. Well, on the other end of the ledger, we got Bernie versus Hillary. That Democratic debate really heated up last night. The big question is, we know Hillary's in trouble, but how much? We'll be right back. Mica Mosbacher, Todd Starnes, and Jillian Melcher are back with me. All right, first let's talk about this, the notion of immigrants or migrants and this having to learn English. In America, we've talked about that for a long time. In fact, a lot of people are a little frustrated that people can come to this country and not have to learn a language. But assimilation is the biggest issue in Europe with the Muslims in particular.
Yeah, I think this makes so much sense. I mean, if you look in Britain in particular at how many Muslim women, how many immigrant women do not speak English, it's a huge problem. And it's been defended on a civil rights perspective, but I think that's completely the wrong way of looking at it. These women are marginalized, they're vulnerable. You've got 11,000 honor crimes happening, many of them honor killings within a 4-year period. These women need to be assimilated into society, not closeted away, not vulnerable, and this is a great way to do it.
You know, Mica, some are criticizing David Cameron, saying this is way too little with respect to changing the culture, to Jillian's point, the culture that actually invites, the type of harm and treatment of women that the West considers deplorable.
Well, yes. I mean, first of all, we've got to be careful and not get into nation building. And second,
we're talking about, but not having our nations rebuilt either, though. We got to be careful not having our nations rebuilt, though.
Exactly. First of all, but secondly, it's interesting what's going on in Great Britain, but the British can't vote in presidential elections here in the United States. What I'm concerned about are the 7 million Muslims here in the U.S., many who are law-abiding citizens who need to adapt to our culture, first of all, and secondly, need to help police their culture to suss out who is in danger to Americans.
Oh, Charles, I don't know about this. I think we need to pay very close attention to what's happening in Europe right now, because what's happening over there with this balkanization of their own countries, simply because these Muslims do not want to assimilate, that is going to happen here. And we've already set the groundwork for that to happen. Every time you try to get, every time you argue, yes, we need to have a common language, that language is English, people go crazy. So again, this is a very important issue. We need to pay attention to what's happening over there. And if we do not, then we are going to have hell.
We see these neighborhoods in France where, they're enclaves. They have satellite TVs. They only listen to their TV. They only speak their language. There's one thing, and this is where you get the debate about multiculturalism. In America, we're a melting pot. We're proud of it. But we all have shared common values, like Pledge of Allegiance. So, we'll all get up at the ball game and put our hands over our heart. That's not going to happen in Europe. You may have a Turkish soccer team playing a German soccer team, and it'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the United States has been very lucky in that so much of its migration, so much of its immigration have been people from shared cultures. They may speak Spanish, but they've got a Judeo-Christian heritage. We do see a changing face of immigration. Assimilation is going to be much bigger of a problem.
Oh, before we go. The UK thing. Anybody see this? The ban on Trump? Yeah, I mean, it was really dumb stuff.
It's so wrong-headed, because the whole premise of it is that we ban him because of hate speech. Is he a guy giving hate speech? Absolutely. But free speech is an absolute principle, not a way to protect Western values.
Charles, I've given some thought to this, and all I can say is this. We took in Piers Morgan. The least they can do is take Donald Trump.
I did learn a new word, though, a Wazdock, which is like an annoying person. Anyway, I'm sure I mispronounced it like I do everything else. Thanks a lot, guys. Well, Donald Trump, he talks about 9/11 to counter the New York values, barb, if you will, thrown by Ted Cruz at the FBN debate. My passion on New York values is next.